It's been a long off season without football, but FanDuel has spent it getting into the best shape of their lives. That means this. FanDuel is ready for more. More ways to play, more ways to challenge your friends, and most importantly, more ways to win. FanDuel also has new options for playing daily fantasy with your friends, because the only thing better than winning cash is winning your friends' cash. Right now, you can get a $20 bonus when you make your first deposit on FanDuel. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/Stephen A. Age and state restrictions apply.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A.
Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airwaves of ESPN Radio, 250 plus markets across the United States of America, plus ESPN Radio, Sirius XM Channel 80. By the way, also simulcasting from ESPN News. Started this Monday, this first week. Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN News. The number to call up as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. Clearly, Barbasol is making raises. Just wanted to make sure I got that out of the way. That's a no-brainer. Check out the Barbasol Ultra 6 Plus with 6 ultra-thin blades. Save on the Ultra 6 Plus at Barbasol.com. I am coming at you live from Dick Clark Studios at the Newhouse School of Communications at the prestigious Syracuse University. It is immaculate. It is something to see, ladies and gentlemen. Make no mistake about it. I am honored and privileged to be here, be speaking with the student athletes later on. You know why? Because Stevie A loves the kids. He sure does. He sure does. Anyway, lots of stuff to get into. Time for Straight Talk. Brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Let's get right to it. The New York Jets and the Redskins had a game last night. We got a slew of NFL preseason games to get to. New England played Philadelphia. Obviously, the Jets played the Washington Redskins. So those two teams that come to mind right off the bat there. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about that. The Steelers went up against Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. We'll be talking about that. I'll get into John Elway and why I had a problem with his comments about Colin Kaepernick. Of course, baseball is in the news as far as I'm concerned for all the wrong reasons. All of that is coming up. Plus Darren Woodson, our resident NFL analyst extraordinaire for ESPN. He'll be on the show at 30 minutes past hour number 1 right here. Let me get right into it. There was an NFL game that took place last night in the nation's capital, okay? I recognize that. I also recognize the fact that the New York Jets actually won a game. I'm sorry. Not that they won a game. They didn't win a game, but it's a preseason game, so it really, really doesn't matter. Jets lost 15-13 to the Washington Redskins. And I guess what I'm thinking about is this. Everybody's making some news about Sam Darnold. You better be careful what you wish for. You better be careful. Because here's the reality. You're talking about Sam Darnold and what he did, connecting on 6 of his first 7 passes, finishing 8 for 11, okay, threw an interception that he should not have thrown, held on to the ball a little bit too longer than he should, but did work through his progressions, did sit up there and throw a few accurate passes, all right, read defenses very, very well. We get all that. Has some degree of accuracy, which is impressive considering the fact that the last time we saw him in games that mattered, he threw 13 interceptions in college for USC last season. But here is the reality. You've got everybody right now talking about it because he went 8 for 11, completed for 62 yards. There was somebody else that performed in this game, just in case y'all missed it. And you know who his name is? His name is Teddy Bridgewater. 10 of 15 for 127 yards, 1 touchdown. Now, he is not the future for the New York Jets. He is not the future for the New York Jets. But when you consider the way he's looked in the preseason compared to the way Sam Darnold has looked in the preseason, it does beg the question. Should Teddy Bridgewater be the one starting week 1? And New York Jets fans are going to have to answer that question. You're going to really have to answer that question because the reality is that if you had to sit up there and pick an individual that's worthy of starting, you got to look at Teddy Bridgewater. He's added intrigue to the Jets quarterback battle. Nobody's worried about Josh McCown because he's a senior citizen, happy to be a backup, collect some paper without getting knocked upside the head. He's happy with his secondary role. But if you Teddy Bridgewater, you're trying to be a starting quarterback. You ain't trying to be some third stringer. You're Teddy Bridgewater. You're trying to make things happen. And by the way, 10 of 15, like I said, keep in mind also 127 yards and a touchdown. Keep in mind, he's thrown the deep ball better. He's completed a better percentage of his passes, 73% to Sam Darnold, 72%. He's been more agile and mobile in the pocket. His accuracy has been there. He's been more fearless and more accurate in throwing the deep ball than Sam Darnold. Plus, he's experienced. And if you're the New York Jets and you had the kind of season that you had where you showed a lot of promise and you showed a lot of fight and you're not trying to tank a season, what do? Yes, Sam Darnold's just a rookie. You can get away with it. The flip side is he's the number 3 overall pick. You got Jets brass treating him like he was some savior until they seen what Teddy Bridgewater could do. And Teddy Bridgewater is only 25 years old. So this is not like this is somebody that you could just summarily dismiss and act like Teddy Bridgewater suddenly, forgot how to play football. His is his 5th season in the National Football League. He's just 25 years of age. And oh, by the way, since he's been back from that nasty injury, his arm strength actually looks stronger. His arm actually looks stronger. His passes are deeper than they were when he was starting for the Minnesota Vikings. And also keep in mind that the Minnesota Vikings felt the need to put him in the starting lineup despite his youth because of his understanding of defenses, because he could make things happen with his legs, because he was a good leader. These are the kind of things that they said about him. So if you are a New York Jets fan, are you sure you're happy about Teddy Bridgewater showing up and showing out? Because I, for one, am of this mindset. Whether it's Baker Mayfield or Sam Darnold, I don't think either of them should be starting this season. But Tyrod Taylor starting in front of Baker Mayfield is an entirely different scenario than Teddy Bridgewater starting in front of Sam Darnold. Here's why. Teddy Bridgewater, 5th year, nasty knee injury. But even when he was healthy, didn't have the strongest arm, wasn't some elite passer. He was just a pedestrian. He wouldn't turn the ball over. He protected the football. He negated you from beating yourself, but he was limited in what he could do. Now that his arm is strong and he's healthier, who knows? So putting him in there could really derail the growth of Sam Darnold to some degree, because where's Teddy Bridgewater trying to go? Now, you could make the argument, all right, let Teddy Bridgewater stay up in there. Let him elevate his value as a quarterback in this league so we can ultimately trade him for some parts and pieces that could benefit us down the road. That's a good way of thinking about it. But the bad that could come from it is that Sam Darnold's development gets derailed because Teddy Bridgewater shows up and shows out for New York Jets fans. And you got New York Jets fans saying, damn it, we ain't won a Super Bowl since 1969. We haven't done a damn thing in years. We've been out of the playoffs for the last 5 years or so. So guess what? Or 6 years rather. So guess what? The hell with all of this Sam Darnold noise. We're going to sit up there and play Teddy Bridgewater and get the most out of him. And if Sam Darnold's got to wait an extra year or two, damn it, so be it. You got some people that might think like that. That's not what's going on in Cleveland. Tyrod Taylor, for all intent and purposes, as gifted as he is, has shown you what he is. And there's no altering that. And so because there's no altering that, and Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield rather is the kind of guy, the kind of mercurial talent that's shown an ability to work through adversity and just come in there and be that gunslinger that can make things happen with his arm or with his legs. And you're talking about it being Cleveland, who was 0-16 last year and who's 1-13 in the 2 years that Hugh Jackson has been at the helm. Starting Baker Mayfield is easier than just starting Sam Darnold. It's just that simple to me. 888, say ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. That was one of the stories that I wanted to get into. The other story was involving Nick Foles for the Philadelphia Eagles. Big story percolating throughout social media and beyond. Why? Because Nick Foles got hurt. Trying to throw the football, strip sacked, hurt his right shoulder. It was returned for a touchdown. It's a preseason game. I don't give a damn. Here's what I do care about. Nick Foles needs to be healthy. There is no doubt. Because personally speaking, from the workouts that I've seen and all the highlight reels that the Eagles and everybody else feel some reason to feel enthused about, I don't like the way Carson Wentz has looked in terms of practice and highlights and what have you. You know, him doing those quarterback drills and watching his leg movements. I don't like the way he's looked. I don't know if he's going to be able to get out the way of defenders. And they're going to go right at him. I think that Carson Wentz needs to wait weeks before he's back on the field for an NFL regular season game. That's just my opinion. So when you look at it from that perspective, that elevates the importance of Nick Foles. But what shocks me about Eagles fans everywhere, I'm trying to figure out why the hell are y'all walking around in panic mode? I understand the quarterback is the most important position. I totally get that. I get it. I understand it. But the flip side to it, ladies and gentlemen, is that you have to remember, if you're the Philadelphia Eagles, you're the reigning, defending Super Bowl champions. Is your offensive line intact? Yes. Lane Johnson's back. Jason Peters is back. Jason Kelsey is back. Your offensive line is stout. They ready to roll. So you got that going on. Your running backs, Clement and Ajayi, they're there. You re-signed Alshon Jeffrey. Nelson Aguilar has improved. We saw that last year. He's back. You got Mike Wallace in the offseason. Zach Ertz took a step back. I sincerely believe he's going to take a step forward. Plus, you got another tight end. What's the problem? What is the problem? You're the Philadelphia Eagles. You should be fine. What you walking around like a bunch of scared puppies for? Get over it. Relax. You got everything else in place. Run the damn football if you're scared to throw it too much because your quarterback ain't healthy. You should be able to do that with the two-headed monster you have. And oh, by the way, are we really, really sold on the rest of the NFC East? We watched the Redskins last night. What the hell was important about that? What was impressive about it, rather? Oh, you know what they were talking about with Alex Smith yesterday, who completed 4 of his 6 passes? You know what they were talking about Alex Smith yesterday? Well, he might be an upgrade from Kirk Cousins of being the leadership. He's really adapted to his leadership role in the locker room. The players really seem to gravitate towards him. Really? Really? Jay Gruden, good luck with that. Because I don't see them having much in the nation's capital. Then you've got the Dallas Cowboys. There's been questions about Dak Prescott. We know this team goes where Ezekiel Elliott takes them. Unless Dak Prescott suddenly wants to let his ego ingratiate the equation, and all of a sudden he's about proving he can throw the football without Des Bryant and without Jason Witten. Now he's got Cole Beasley again and Terrence Williams, okay? And Tavon Austin, that's a part of that squad right now. So you know what? We're going to roll with them, and he wants to prove it and throw the football that way. Good luck with that. Because the safety net that is Jason Witten is no longer there. And it's going to be real interesting to see what the Dallas Cowboys do from that tight end spot. We'll go from there. Then, of course, you got the Giants. Now, this is a very intriguing team. Because with the Giants, you have a situation where Saquon Barkley is your number 2 overall pick. And with Saquon expected to do some things for you, you still got to ask the question as to whether or not Odell Beckham Jr. is going to be 100%. Sterling Shepard, is he going to be ready to step up his game? Evan Ingram, what is he going to do at the tight end spot? And is that offensive line going to show up? I know you drafted this kid, Will Hernandez. I know you acquired Nate Solder from the New England Patriots, but Eric Flowers is still on that line at right tackle. It ain't Eli Manning's blind side, but damn it, he's on the line. And one of the best thing you can say about him is that he's been moved from left to right tackle. Damn it, you got problems. And oh, by the way, this defense, how do we know this is going to be a good defense? Does anybody know? Make me a favor. Explain this to me. I want to know. Do you really know whether or not it's going to be successful? These are the kind of questions that you got to ask yourself. These are the kind of things that you got to wonder about. And because there's so many questions within the NFC East, if you're the Eagles, what are you worried about? What are you worried about? 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Tom Brady looked good last night, too. Looks like he's going to be in the conversation for league MVP honors yet again. Showed up, showed out. Threw for 172 yards and a touchdown. He was impressive. Can't deny it. He's Tom Brady. And somehow, some way, with new pieces and new parts available for the New England Patriots, Tom Brady still chugs along. 19 for 26, 172 yards, 2 touchdowns. Lots to be happy about with Tom Brady. Can't deny it. Still got Bolden in there. James White is still on your squad. Nobody else really did anything for you. Hill and White had 10 receptions, with each other, both for 31 yards. You had 2 mistakes returned for touchdowns. Here's the reality. Somehow, some way, New England finds a way. It's who they are. It's who they are. But it also helps that they're playing in the AFC East, if we're being totally, totally honest. There's no way around that. There's no way around that. Having said all of that, I would tell you this. Tom Brady is going to be in the running, top 2, top 3 league MVP candidate, unless the Steelers step up and handle their business. I watched them against Green Bay last night. Pittsburgh Steelers gave up more points in a preseason game than they have in their franchise history. Now, it's just a preseason game, everybody wants to say. I understand everybody wants to look at it that way. Damn it, I don't! I don't feel that way. And the reason I don't feel that way is because we're talking about the Steelers here. We're talking about the Steelers. The secondary is religiously a problem. Joe Hayden, Artie Burns, and all of these, who cares, man? Every single damn year, it's the same problem. They can't seem to fix the secondary. They can't seem to do it. And with this offense, with Big Ben, if he gives you anything, with Antonio Brown, you got to get back Le'Veon Bell. Keith Colbert, you just got to do it. You got to get Le'Veon Bell signed somehow, some way. You got to get him in camp happy. Those are the kind of things that absolutely positively have to happen. But you got to get yourself a defense. And what's sad is that, what's the signature of the defense? What made the Steelers a popular franchise? It wasn't just the Super Bowl championships, ladies and gentlemen. It was how they came about. Mean Joe Green, L.C. Greenwood, Jack Ham, Jack Lambert, Mel Blount and the crew. It wasn't just Rocky Bleier and Franco Harris, with Franco Harris looking to run out of bounds every chance he got. It wasn't just Terry Bradshaw with Lynn Swann and John Stallworth, who were studs. It was also that steel curtain defense. They don't have it. They intimidate no one. They intimidate no one. Nobody's worried about the Steelers. Who gives a damn about the Steelers defense? Who cares? Who fears them is what I'm saying. Who? I'm trying to remain composed. But I'm a Steelers fan. And I'm not going to pretend to be objective about my team. And the fact is that I got a real problem with what I'm seeing. Same damn problem every year. This secondary. I love Mike Tomlin. He's going to have to find a way to get it done. But I got to tell you, it's just not. Steelers are just not impressive defensively. They give you no reason to believe in them. They just are who they are, and we all know it. And it's a problem. And they're going to make things interesting because Baltimore is going to be relevant. Cincinnati always has talent. They're just dysfunctional. Cincinnati is not devoid or bereft of talent. They're dysfunctional. They're head cases, which is why Marvin Lewis should have been fired years ago. But I digress because I'm not trying to belabor that point. Other than to say that the Cincinnati Bengals don't give a damn about their fan base. They don't care about their fans. Because they don't care about winning. They don't even care about impressions as to whether or not they care about winning. They don't care about how it looks that you keep the same coach as the head coach when he ain't won a playoff game in 15 years. They don't care. They don't care about you. Give me your money. Show up to Riverfront Stadium and shut the hell up until it's time to cheer for our team. That's what the Bengals are telling their fan base. That's what they're telling you. And it's a crying shame. But it is the truth. And we all need to just accept it. That don't mean they can't beat you in the regular season, though. That don't mean they can't accumulate enough wins to get to the playoffs. And the Steelers have to be concerned about them. No, they do not have to be concerned about the Browns just yet. We shall see. But it's just a whole bunch of stuff to keep your eyes on because if the Steelers defense is going to look like that, they'll lose to Tom Brady again. They'll lose to Tom Brady again. That's assuming they don't lose to Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. It's assuming they don't lose to the Phillip Rivers and the Dodgers with an improved defense, by the way. It's assuming that John Gruden and the Oakland Raiders continue to be idiotic or stop being idiotic, rather, and they get Khalil Mack signed. I don't know. 888 say ESPN. That's the number to call up. 888-729-3776 is the number to call up. One of the other things I wanted to broach was John Elway. I was incredibly disappointed watching John Elway in front of the media yesterday. I thought he looked smug. I thought he looked dismissive and disingenuous. And I thought he misrepresented the situation involving Colin Kaepernick. John Elway, for those of you who don't know, said that Colin Kaepernick had his chance to be a Denver Bronco. We offered him a contract. He didn't take it. That's what John Elway said. Laughing and smugging along and all of this other stuff. Well, that's not the entire truth. Before Colin Kaepernick ever took a knee, the San Francisco 49ers were talking to the Denver Broncos about trading Colin Kaepernick to the Broncos. Colin Kaepernick had met with John Elway personally. The same Colin Kaepernick that had met with John Elway personally was told that the Denver Broncos were interested in him, but they would need to cut his salary from $11.9 million to $7 million. Colin Kaepernick refused to take the pay cut. That's what he did. He refused to take the 42% pay cut. And it was thereafter that he went about the 2016 season in a San Francisco 49ers uniform, taking the knee, not before. Why is all of this relevant? Because Colin Kaepernick turned down taking a 42% pay cut that did not in any way involve the issue of the national anthem. And John Elway, with his smugness and his disingenuous approach with the media yesterday, gave every impression that they had something to do with it. Because if you recall, he brought up the deposition that he gave in Colin Kaepernick's collusion case against the National Football League. And what he was saying is that, I'm maybe not supposed to mention this, but I'm going to mention it anyway, blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? You might have emboldened Colin Kaepernick and buffered his case instead of disintegrating it. Because you have to remember, ladies and gentlemen, according to the laws, collusion doesn't have to involve some widespread case of corruption with all the teams participating. It could be two or more teams, or it could be the league in concert with one team that can grant Colin Kaepernick a win in a collusion case. When you watched John Elway talk to the media yesterday, did you get the impression that it was just a quarterback that didn't land on his team because he wasn't willing to take a pay cut? Or did you get the impression that John Elway was speaking as a league executive who viewed Colin Kaepernick as a fool and a problem, who is getting his comeuppance because he shouldn't be the distraction that he is? He should have taken this money and taken this opportunity, but he had his chance and he blew it. Well, Chad Kelly is on your roster as your number 2 quarterback. His troubles at Ole Miss, his troubles in his younger years, he's still on your squad. We got a backup quarterback in Chicago that has started one game and has thrown one touchdown and has already collected $24 million in salary from an NFL team. But John Elway would talk this way about Colin Kaepernick as if he should be appreciative of the fact that we were willing to give him the $7 million, instead of recognizing the fact that he had every right to turn it down, and he was worth more than that because he had taken a team to a Super Bowl and a team to an NFC championship game and had established himself as one of the mercurial quarterbacks in the game. See, it's stuff like this and it's moments like this that remind us that no matter how far we've come, we've got a long ways to go. Because John Elway that I was watching yesterday at that press conference was not talking like some NFL executive making a business decision. He was talking like a smug executive who was reminding Colin Kaepernick, you should have took the money and you shouldn't be such a distraction, because you'd be a hell of a lot better off had you done that than what you're doing now. That's what John Elway disseminated to the masses yesterday. And to be quite honest with you, I don't like it one bit. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. The Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Back with Darren Woodson and more in a minute.
Allie's mom knew she had a strong kick even back in the womb. And from then on, Allie was always kicking a ball and saying she was going to play pro soccer. And one day, while she was kicking a ball against a wall, her skills drew even more attention. Her boss said, "Could you please stop that and get me those quarterly numbers I asked for?" Turns out Allie just wasn't that good a talker. But she was a good accountant. That's why she switched to Geico. She knew they could save her a bunch of money on car insurance. And she sure wasn't ever going to make that pro soccer money. No, sir.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
So I can get on the line with my man Darren Woodson, NFL analyst extraordinaire for ESPN. Even though he's a Dallas Cowboy, I still allow him on the show, which is a very big thing because I usually would never allow something like that. I wouldn't allow a Dallas Cowboy on my show. But for him, I would make an exception. The minute I can make sure I hear him, Darren Woodson will be on the line with me right now. Actually, Darren, are you there, sir?
I'm here. I got you.
Oh, Lord. What's up, Darren? How are you, my man?
I'm doing great. I'm doing beautiful. I feel really good today.
Why do you feel so good? The Dallas Cowboys didn't win anything last night.
Yeah, but them Steelers got 50-some points hung up on them yesterday.
You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? Go ahead. See what I'm saying? You was good. You was on TV with me and getting on me for overreacting, but now you come on national radio and TV and you tease me about that. See what I'm saying?
I know what? Every week you kill me about my Cowboys. Yo, they're gonna do good in the regular season, and you just watch. Just watch. They'll fold. I hear that all the time. So it was about time that I finally got you on this. I figured out where your sensitive points are. If I'm talking Yankees. If I'm saying anything about the Yankees, you are touchy. If I talk about them Steelers as well, yeah, I hear you now. I see you.
You better watch your mouth. I know you better watch your mouth, Darren Woodson. Let me ask you this question. Explain to me why the Steelers were so awful defensively last night. Because I know it's just a preseason game, but damn it, it's a replica of things to come. Last time we saw them, they were in the playoffs against Jacksonville, and we saw how that defense looked. This is the first time we've seen it really since Jacksonville, unless you want to count last week's meaningless preseason victory over the Philadelphia Eagles. The last time we really saw them was against Jacksonville, and we didn't like what we saw. I'm very concerned about this Steelers defense. What about you?
Yeah, I'm concerned. I think that's the major concern because listen, the window of opportunity is closing on this Steelers team, especially with Ben Roethlisberger getting older. We're still not sure what's going to happen to Le'Veon Bell. They have weapons galore. Juju Smith on the outside, Antonio Brown, and the quarterback position with Ben Roethlisberger and Le'Veon Bell. They have a lot of weapons. Offensively what they're going to bring to the table. The question has been, as of late in the last few years, has been that defense, and it has been. I mean, because one of the things that you continue to see with this defense is this: they don't match up well with with a quarterback with the likes of a Tom Brady or an Aaron Rodgers, who can spread the ball around, who can dissect that coverage, that cover three coverage that they always love to run. They find the matchups on the linebackers. They find the matchups outside with the cornerbacks, and that has been the Achilles heel of this Steelers team. And if the Steelers team starts to get in these firefights with good offenses, it's hard to keep up then. And that's the problem that we've been seeing with the Steelers. And I agree with you. I agree. Is it their Achilles heel? Absolutely. Do they need to get better? Absolutely. But it's hard, Stephen A., to replace a guy like Ryan Shazier. It's hard to find guys in the draft or in free agency that are going in. They went out last year and got a good cornerback. And Hayden, they went out and got a good cornerback, but they still haven't figured out how to stop good quarterbacks, and that's been their big problem.
So you don't think it's anything schematically? It's strictly a personnel issue in your mind?
Listen, yeah, but schematically, it's a little bit of both. I mean, schematically, it's been, okay, the Patriots spread them out. They isolate them in their cover three because the check for the Steelers have been, well, we'll just go to cover three, and a guy like Brady just absolutely dices them up, especially when they're matching up against linebackers on running backs, linebackers on Edelman. He finds ways to dice them up. But then this past year, they played the Jacksonville Jaguars, and it's Blake Bortles at the quarterback position. And it wasn't Blake that diced them up. It was the running game. It was totally the opposite. And that to me was the biggest surprise to me, because the matchup was the perfect matchup for the Steelers. It wasn't spread us out, beat us up with in the passing game. It was, we're going to line up and we're going to play a little smash mouth football, which that's their strength. And for me, that was a surprise. They got bullied around, they got hit in the mouth, and Jacksonville was the big bullier.
Darren Woodson right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. Let's transition to the New England Patriots and the Philadelphia Eagles. What did you peel from that game? To a lot of people, it's about the health of the Philadelphia Eagles quarterback. To me, it was yet another reminder that Tom Brady has not gone anywhere, and he's probably going to be a top 2 candidate for league MVP honors again. Your thoughts?
Yeah. No, that wasn't a surprise to me. I mean, Tom Brady is going to be Tom Brady. I mean, he hadn't fallen off that cliff like Max has said. He's going to be who he is. And they're going to be in the AFC. And they'll be in the playoffs again. How far they go in the AFC, I have no idea. But I'm predicting them to be in the AFC Championship again because of Tom Brady and the weak division that they play in. On the opposite side, I thought, listen, I don't know if it's big news because we still don't know the severity of Nick Foles' injury. That's still a big question. He could come back next week and it's not a big problem. We just understand what's going on. He'll be the starting quarterback. But if not, if this injury is a 5 to 6 week injury, then you're going to have to start looking at some depth out there. You're going to have to start maybe bring in a veteran quarterback because the one thing you cannot do is accelerate the process of bringing in Carson Wentz. He's got to come in when he's healthy. He's got to come back when Peterson feels like he's confident in the situation health-wise, and not only that, the mental fortitude to move forward at the quarterback position. He's going to have to go through that process. So I understand. I know the Eagles are way light years ahead of me as far as this thinking, but they're going to bring him back, Carson Wentz back, when he's fully ready to go. So if that's the case, if you don't have a Nick Foles, you better get on that waiver wire at some point, especially looking for a veteran quarterback that can maybe, be the buffer for the first couple of games or so.
Let's go from veterans to rookies, at least to some degree. Sam Darnold played last night relatively decently, but certainly not better than Teddy Bridgewater. A lot of noise in New York with folks wondering about whether you should go with Bridgewater or Sam Darnold. What's your mentality as it pertains to that?
Listen, I think Sam Darnold's the future. He's the future. Todd Bowles has tied himself to him. The GM has tied himself to Sam Darnold as being the face of this franchise, and I totally get it. I understand that, and we all know, and I think it's everyone in the Jets organization know he's the future. I think Teddy Bridgewater has flat out outplayed everyone in the first 2 games on both sides of the ball. I'm talking about both quarterbacks on whoever the quarterback is on the field on the opposing team as well. Teddy Bridgewater has looked extremely well. And all the question marks that we had coming into the season, well, can he be mobile? Will he be able to take a big hit again? He's fragile. Will he throw that crisp spiral like he's thrown in the past? There's been a lot of question marks, and he's answered all of them. In my opinion, I don't know if I would play Teddy again. I really don't, because I think they have a great asset that they can utilize as far as maybe some draft picks coming down the line, because we just saw yesterday, we saw Nick Foles get banged up in Philadelphia. Someone's going to be looking for a quarterback. Someone in this league, 32 teams, someone's going to be looking for a quarterback at some point. The Jets have an asset in their hands right now. They cannot risk Teddy Bridgewater getting hurt because they already know they got Josh McCown, who is still listed as the starter on this football team.
So what do you do, Darren? But what do? You bench Sam Darnold and Teddy Bridgewater and just put Josh McCown in there for the rest of the preseason?
Hey, why not? Why not? We're gonna find out a lot the third game because it's going to be the dress rehearsal. We're going to find out where Todd Bowles' mind is as far as who's the guy who's going to be his starting quarterback, because it's the dress rehearsal. In this game, usually 99% of the time, it tells you the guy who walks out there and is a starting quarterback in the dress rehearsal is usually the guy who's going to start week 1. We're going to find out. If that's Sam Darnold, we'll find that out. If that's Josh McCown, who's basically hadn't played in the first 2 preseason games, we're going to find it out. But that's the guy, and we got to wait. We just got to wait and see what happens. But I still feel like this should be, in my opinion, a Sam Darnold, Josh McCown conversation, and let's figure out what pieces we can get for Teddy Bridgewater, because he is a guy that should be starting in this league.
Wow. Darren Woodson right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Last quick question for you. Do you feel the same way about Baker Mayfield and Tyrod Taylor's situation?
Look, I don't know what the rush is for Baker Mayfield. I really don't. I don't, and it's the same way for Sam Darnold. I don't see what the rush is for Sam Darnold as well. I just think that Baker Mayfield, we should allow him to grow into his role. If you brought Tyrod Taylor in for a reason. He was a playoff caliber quarterback last year. Took the Buffalo Bills. Why not start him off this season? See where you go, and then allow Baker Mayfield to get some mental reps. Allow him to get confident in this situation. Allow him to digest the playbook, and then bring him in at some point. But, initially, I still think that Tyrod Taylor should be the guy to start the season. It's one thing to start off a season and say, okay, well, we're going to start our rookie. So you're expecting whatever it is. You're just expecting, well, we'll be you're telling your team, yeah, but we're an 8-8 team.
Got it.
But why not bring in a guy? You brought in the guy in Tyrod Taylor, so the veteran players should be looking at it and saying, hey, let's make a run. Let's at least have confidence to try to make a run early on the season. Let's not throw in the red flag early in the season. Let's try to make a run at this.
We'll be talking as the season progresses. I'll be having you on probably on a weekly basis just to mess with you about your damn Cowboys. But until then, enjoy your weekend, sir. You take it easy, buddy. Thanks a lot for coming on the show.
All right, love you, bro.
All right, same here, my man. Darren Woodson, 3-time Super Bowl champion with the Dallas Cowboys, NFL analyst extraordinaire for ESPN. Right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio and simulcast on ESPN News. By the way, all of these conversations I've been having with myself, with you, and with Darren Woodson, Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage of America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. By the way, do you have frequent heartburn? Like the kind where you have antacids stashed everywhere in case it pops up? You know what I mean. You keep some in your bag, your desk, your car, or even your nightstand. You have those chalky tablets ready for whenever and wherever heartburn strikes. Well, listen up. There's an easier way to deal with your heartburn. That's Prilosec OTC. Just one pill a day will last a full 24 hours with zero heartburn. So kick your antacid habit. It's possible with Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief. 888-SAY-ESPN is the number to call. Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News.
It's been a long off season without football, but FanDuel has spent it getting into the best shape of their lives. That means this. FanDuel is ready for more. More ways to play. More ways to challenge your friends. And most importantly, more ways to win. FanDuel also has new options for playing daily fantasy with your friends, because the only thing better than winning cash is winning your friends cash. Right now, you can get a $20 bonus when you make your first deposit on FanDuel. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/Stephen A. Age and state restrictions apply.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A.
Welcome back to Stephen A. Smith Show right here on ESPN Radio. Hour number 2 of the Stephen A. Smith Show here with you. ESPN Radio, 250 plus markets across the United States of America. ESPN Radio on Sirius XM Channel 80. And of course, ESPN Radio simulcast live on national television. ESPN News. I am coming at you live from Dick Clark Studios at the Newhouse School of Communications on the campus of Syracuse University, where I'm scheduled to speak to a bevy of student athletes and beyond this afternoon. So I'm honored to be here. Number to call up as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. The Stephen A. Smith Show is being brought to you by Pennzoil Synthetics, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. So make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. Plus, tune in this Sunday as Rise Hoskins and the Phillies host the Mets, presented by Indeed. Coverage of Sunday Night Baseball begins at 6 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPNRadio.com, and the ESPN app, and at 7 p.m. on ESPN and the Watch ESPN app as well. Before I get to the calls, let me talk to you about something. ESPN forecast panel projections for the 2019 free agents in the NBA. There's 4 marquee free agents that are expected to show up, okay? Kyrie Irving, Jimmy Butler, Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant. Those are your people, okay? And Klay Thompson, by the way. Let's not forget him, all right? So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 marquee free agents. And according to the panel, Kyrie Irving, 46.9% chance of landing with the New York Knicks. Celtics are labeled at 43.8%. Brooklyn, the Clippers, and the Lakers all at 3.1%. So the panel of basketball analysts, ESPN forecast panel, most of them give the Knicks the best shot at Kyrie Irving. As it pertains to Jimmy Butler, New York Knicks, 42.4%. Lakers, 21.2%. Timberwolves, 12.1%. Outside minimal 3% or less chances for the Clippers, the Nets, the Spurs, the 76ers, the Mavericks, the Heat, the Raptors, the Milwaukee Bucks. So most ESPN analysts are saying the New York Knicks have the best shot at Kyrie Irving and Jimmy Butler. Gets better. Kawhi Leonard. Chances of landing with the Lakers, 57.6%. Raptors, 27.3%. Clippers, 15.1%. Most analysts expect Kawhi Leonard to be a Laker. Kevin Durant. Most analysts believe he will stay with the Warriors. He won't go anywhere. And they're giving his chances of staying with the Warriors a 69.7% chance of staying with the Warriors. Second on the list, however, are the New York Knicks at 24.2%. The Thunder and the Lakers are both at 3%. And then, of course, there's Klay Thompson. Staying with the Warriors, they say it's a 72.7% chance. Lakers, 15.2%. Sixers, 6.1%. Clippers, 3.0%. Spurs, 3.0%. I wouldn't mind seeing Klay Thompson at the Garden, but after you have spoiled yourself with so much winning, I don't know how you can go from that to the Knicks. Unless, of course, you're Kevin Durant and you want a different challenge. You Klay Thompson and you want your own team. I don't see that latter happening. I could see Kevin Durant wanting to move on because it's not really his team. Despite the fact that he's a champion and a two-time league MVP, he's been so maligned for committing the softest move we've ever seen from a superstar in sports history by electing to go and play with a 73-9 team that had just beaten you in a conference finals. I'm not dissing them. I'm just telling you what it is. The fact is that Kevin Durant might be of the mindset that, all right, I did what I came to do. I'm a two-time champion and a two-time NBA Finals MVP. It just might be in my best interest to go the route that I'm going to go and do it that way. I might not even be bothered with all of this. Instead, what I might do is just say, hey, I'll accept the new challenge because it's not his team anyway, ladies and gentlemen. That's what everybody's got to remember. It's not his team anyway. And to my staff out there, please put the callers up on the board for me so I can see them, please. Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. Let's get to the phones because we got a lot to get into. Let's go to Edwin. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Edwin?
Yes, sir. Stephen A., big fan of yours. Love
Thank you, man. Go ahead. Go ahead, bro.
With, the New York Jets, with everything Sam Darnold did last night, and Teddy, he's probably the one to start for the position, Teddy. But, you don't think, guys, maybe the Jets could use him as probably trade bait going forward?
Oh, I definitely think they could use him as trade bait. That's not the issue. That's not the dilemma. The dilemma is, do you keep playing Teddy? Or do you sit him down and not play him so you don't risk injury for the sole express purpose of trying to trade him? Or do you allow him to start the season as your quarterback, even if that meant derailing Sam Darnold or holding him off for a little while? What do you do?
Right. I get you.
Answer the question. I ain't asking a rhetorical question. Answer it, Edward. What do you do?
I say start.
You say he starts?
Yeah, I say start.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot. I appreciate the call. JP, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me, buddy. How you doing?
Hey, Stephen. I watched the games yesterday. I was so amped to talk to you today. But then,
sure.
I want to talk to you about Teddy Bridgewater. No, you don't start this guy. I've been saying that for the longest. Sit Teddy Bridgewater down because the Giants need him. The New York Giants really need him. And that's what I want to talk to you today about.
You know what? That's a very – hold on, JP. That's a very unique take because I didn't hear anybody say that the Giants need him. You feel the Giants need it.
Oh, watch what the way the Browns just slap this around like we was somebody's stepchild? Eli Manning have not been performing. And everybody, even Jalen Ramsey, who I believe Tom Coughlin, gave him the thumbs up. You get him, to talk smack about Eli. Eli, he's done, but he's holding the franchise hostage. He doesn't want to retire. He should have been retired. Wait
a minute, JP. Don't you think you're being a little bit too hard on Eli, considering the way that offensive line, how anemic and pathetic that offensive line has been in recent memory, particularly with Eric Flowers as your left tackle? I mean, listen, it's breaking news. It's back page story because Eric Flowers has been moved to right tackle. So he's no longer in charge of Eli Manning's blind side. And that in and of itself has been back page news. That's how pathetic Eric Flowers was.
Stephen A., it's everybody's fault. It was Tom Coughlin's fault. It was the defense fault. It was we didn't have a O-line. It was the locker room manager's fault. When are we going to look at Eli and say, okay, Eli, you have to produce. Failure is no longer an option. When are we going to do that?
We're doing it now. We're doing it now, which is why you give him a chance to go into the season and see how he performs. You don't sit up there and bring me Teddy Bridgewater like Teddy Bridgewater looked like the second coming of Dan Marino the last time we saw him healthy. That wasn't the case. We appreciate the fact that he had a nasty knee injury because we know what he could do with his wheels. But in terms of his arm, first of all, he didn't have that much arm strength. Secondly, he wasn't the most accurate quarterback in the world. And thirdly, and more importantly, the Minnesota Vikings weren't winning games because of Teddy Bridgewater. They were winning games because of their defense.
He did a good job. I've been watching him when he was at Minnesota. This guy, he's been solid. He never cost you games. He helped you win games. All right. Him playing in this system with Odell Beckham, Saquon Barkley. You talking about we going to the playoffs this year? I promise you that.
All right, well, let's go to your second point because I know you had a second point to make before I interrupted you, so I apologize. What else was on your mind?
See, this is what I'm talking about. These people don't take us serious. They don't take you serious. They playing games with you. You see what the GM from Denver Broncos, John Elway, the president and GM. Elway did. He's bringing up this Colin Kaepernick situation again. I'm telling you, we need to mobilize. I even found a church where you could meet in Brooklyn, Cornerstone Baptist Church with Lawrence E. Aker III. He's ready to mobilize. Let's march on Washington. They're not taking you serious, Stephen A.
Well, listen, that's on the players. I'm not going to blame anybody for that because here's the reality. It's not the fans that just need to march. It's the players. If the president of the United States has successfully hijacked the issue and turned a protest about racial oppression, inequality, police brutality into something about the national anthem, we can't ignore the fact that he has a constituency out there that has bought what he sold hook, line, and sinker. How do you change the narrative without offending those patrons at the same time so you don't compromise the support that they're giving your brand? You mobilize, you march on Washington on your off day. You'll have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who would follow you. You march to the doorsteps of lawmakers on Capitol Hill. You'll tell them we want these issues addressed. It'll be cameras everywhere, news networks everywhere, sports networks everywhere covering this. The attention, the eye of the storm will be on it, and nobody could confuse that with disrespecting our flag or being unpatriotic. And you promise to do that every year until more attention is brought to these issues and addressed appropriately. You haven't offended anybody. You've exercised your constitutional rights as an American citizen, and the president doesn't have a license to hijack the issue and lie or misconstrue what you're saying on purpose, because you are doing what Americans have been known to do when they are truly interested in provoking change. I don't have a problem with that. I think that's the way to go.
Well, when, Steven? Where are we going to meet? Who's going to, who do we talk to? Where do I send my money so that we could start getting this organized? When, Steven? I'm not from I don't like talking too much. I'm from the action. Show me what we got to think about that. Do.
I got to run. I appreciate the call, but we got to think about that. You're absolutely right. I'm not going to sit up there and knock that. You're absolutely right. You make a very, very valid point. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Carlton, you're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up, Big Belly? How you doing?
Hey, Stephen A., I thought I had seen everything until I watched your First Take show today, and I saw Max Kellerman, who has done more to spread completely false disinformation about Russian collusion with the Trump campaign, accused John Elway of spreading disinformation concerning Colin Kaepernick and the collusion claim that Colin Kaepernick has against the NFL.
Explain exactly what you mean. What are you talking about?
You and I have had numerous discussions about Colin Kaepernick's situation over the last year and a half. And yet, for some reason, and I don't know why, because you and I agree on, 85% plus of all issues. We're on the same page, but we're on completely different sides on Colin Kaepernick, even though I know at times you've seen my points. You understand why Colin Kaepernick doesn't have a job. First off, he turned home field advantage into home field disadvantage at the 49ers when all of his fans were booing him every time he came out in the field, and no NFL owner wants that. They just don't want that in their quarterback, be it starter or backup. You understand that. You also understand he alienated the police with his pig socks. He alienated Cuban Americans with his Castro T-shirt. And then in the biggest violation, which is going to keep any owner who was even thinking about hiring Colin Kaepernick, he equated Steve Bisciotti, the owner of the Ravens, who was thinking about hiring him, and Ray Lewis, Hall of Fame Ray Lewis, who was helping Colin Kaepernick get a job with the Baltimore Ravens, with the characters from Django, the most vile slave owner and Uncle Tom characters in Django. And yet somehow this myth persists that all the NFL owners are colluding against Colin Kaepernick because he took the knee, as opposed to none of them want him because he refused to acknowledge that he was hurting the 49ers' chances of winning games when he was the quarterback, and he insulted two prominent people who are trying to get him a job in the NFL.
Hold on, Carlton. Hold on for a second. Hold on because you and I agree with that. All of those points, I never disputed that. But let's stick with John Elway here. Remember what I said this morning on First Take. I was very turned off by what John Elway did because John Elway offered him a contract prior to the kneeling, and he asked him to take a 42% pay cut. That's fine because you and I both lamented the fact that Colin Kaepernick hadn't looked that great the last few years prior to him exiting football after being with the 49ers. My problem with John Elway and what have you, the smugness, the disingenuous approach that he gave when he was talking to the media yesterday, and he brought up himself speaking during the deposition. I had a real problem with John Elway taking that tactic because it seemed to lean towards more of what you were saying than what he was trying to do with Colin Kaepernick at the time, which was essentially get him on the cheap. What you were saying is what John Elway came across as alluding to yesterday, when in fact, when he offered Colin Kaepernick a 42% pay cut, none of that was going on at that particular moment in time. And so what that said to me, Carlton, is that, remember what collusion is in this particular case. It's not a collective effort on a part of a multitude of teams. All that makes up collusion in this particular Colin Kaepernick case against the NFL, it's either got to be two or more teams, but two, or the league in concert with one team. And when John Elway sounds the way that he sounds, to me, it almost buffered Colin Kaepernick's argument. To that, Carlton, you say what?
Here's what you have to realize. Colin Kaepernick is suing the Denver Broncos as well as everybody in the NFL. He's suing the entire NFL for colluding. Good
point.
So Elway's attitude is not only only about when he was trying to give him the job before Colin Kaepernick took a knee. It's also about we got a guy who is now suing us. And the absurdity of it is this is a guy who equated an NFL owner and a Hall of Fame African-American trying to help him to get a job with characters from Django. I think part of his smugness is his recognition, and I'm in total agreement with it. This is absurd that Colin Kaepernick believes we're colluding against him. No owner in his right mind would hire Colin Kaepernick, in my opinion. Now,
I like the point that you're making, though, Carlton, and I give you a lot of credit for that. First of all, you're saying collusion isn't necessary. They are fully capable of their own volition to say this is not a guy we want based on how he's acted off the field. You're not even alluding to just taking the knee. You're alluding to the pig socks, the pig on the socks, talking about police officers, the Castro T-shirt, the Colin Bashotti and Ray Lewis, the characters from Django. I get that point. That's a valid point in your part. You're saying that John Elway was probably smug because the nerve of this guy to sue us and to think we should speak favorably about him after the way he's conducted himself. That's your point. Am I correct?
Exactly. And if we hire him and it doesn't work out, he's going to call us a racist. When he went to the deposition against NFL for the collusion case, he wore a Conte Kente T-shirt. He's out of control, Stephen A. You can't work with somebody like that because if it doesn't go well, there's no guarantee that if somebody hired Colin Kaepernick, it's going to be a success. He's going to accuse us of being a racist if we eventually have to cut him. No owner in his right mind is going to hire Colin Kaepernick.
I can sit here with a straight face and honestly answer that, Carlton, by saying I cannot blame you. That's a very valid point. You do have a bevy of owners out there now that believe if they brought Colin Kaepernick on board and it didn't work out, then you could accuse us of racism. Now, that may not be accurate.
Was potentially going to hire him, and Colin Kaepernick blew it up by equating him to a racist character in Django, for crying out loud.
I wish I could disagree with you. I can't say that you're definitively false. I truly cannot. I appreciate
Ray
the call,
Lewis walked away from him, Stephen A. Ray Lewis said, that's it, I'm done. I've been trying to help this guy. He won't help himself.
I got you. I appreciate the call, Carlton. Very, very valid points on your part. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Mike, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Stephen, man. You know what? The last guy, I'm just not even going to get into some of that with that us stuff because we know who us is, and he ain't an NFL owner. But let's talk about my
I don't know if that's fair, Mike, in all seriousness. I'm just being real with you about it. Carlton calls into the show all the time, and every time he speaks, he does have an abundance of facts to back it up. Now, we might disagree with him, but let's be clear. I'm assuming that you're a black man, I'm a black man, and we look at what Colin Kaepernick has done and we understand where he was coming from. But you do have white patriots out there that are saying, wait a minute, take the kneeling out of the equation for a second. The pigs on the socks to describe police officers, the Castro T-shirt when you went to play the Dolphins in Miami, the calling Ray Lewis and Stephen Bashotti and comparing them, allowing your girlfriend rather to compare them to the characters in Django. She's a grown woman, no mistake about that. She can do what she wants to do. But Colin Kaepernick never spoke against it in any way. If you are a white patron, you might find that offensive, and the notion that collusion is necessary to not want him being ridiculous in their eyes is not far-fetched, because you don't need to have a conversation or collude with anybody to have your own personal feelings. Mike, I'm quite sure you feel the way that you feel even without talking to people, rather. Isn't that correct?
Right. So let's move on to my Browns, because that's what I really want to get at you about.
Sure.
You said up there and you talked about my Browns as if 1-15 and 0-16, as if like we want to experience something like that again. 2-12, 3-13. Let me say something right now. We got Tyrod. No, let me pronounce it right. Tyrod Taylor. Get it right. It's pronounced Tyrod. Not Tyrod. Tyrod. We have Tyrod.
Mike, I got to tell you something, man. I got love for you, bro. I don't even know you, and I got love for you. You want me to tell you why? You want me to tell you why? Want me to tell you why? You might be worse than a Cowboys fan. Do you realize that?
No.
You are calling up. You are calling. Hold on. Just give me a second. You are calling up to this show on national radio, defending a Browns team that's 1-31 over the last 2 years. Who does that? Who does that, Mike?
Just like Hugh Jackson jumped in Lake Erie and washed all that off. Y'all the ones dwelling in the past, but this year y'all going to have to dwell in the present, and that's some butt kickers that these Cleveland Browns going to be handing out. Come September 9th, come September 9th, my man. Watch what you have to say about your team the next Monday morning.
Mike, let me explain something to you right now. I want you to know you pulled something off with me. You know what you just pulled off with me, bro? Do you realize what you just pulled off with me? You have an open invitation to call this show anytime you like. I'm going to get you on as soon as possible because you just called up here and told me that the Browns are going to be relevant. Do you realize what you just did?
Yes,
Do you realize what you just did? And I'm looking at the schedule. I'm looking at the schedule. You got the AFC. All right. You got the AFC North. That's a given. All right. You got the NFC South. That's Carolina, Atlanta, and New Orleans. I mean, come on, Mike. I'm going to let you go because I got to run. But we're going to talk soon, Mike. You're welcome to call back. No mistake about that. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Mike is funny. Just like that guy, Frank, that told me the Knicks were going to be special next year because Joakim Noah was coming back. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. The callers that I find sometimes, unbelievable. By the way, Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, is presented by Progressive Insurance with insurance for cars, homes, motorcycles, RVs, and commercial vehicles at 1-800-PROGRESSIVE and Progressive.com. By the way, it's been a long off season without football, but FanDuel has spent it getting into the best shape of their lives. That means this. FanDuel is ready for more ways to play, more ways to challenge your friend, and most importantly, more ways to win. And FanDuel also has new options for playing daily fantasy with your friends because the only thing better than winning cash is winning your friends' cash. They even have preseason fantasy contests running up to week 1 of the NFL season. Right now, you can get a $20 bonus when you make your first deposit on FanDuel. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/Stephen A. That's with a PH, not a V. Age and state restrictions absolutely do apply. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. More of your calls, more talk about the NFL, the NBA, and more. In a minute, you're listening live to Stephen A. on ESPN Radio and ESPN News.
Computer, execute 12.4p operation.
Optimizing algorithm. Running encryption packet alpha. Night. Oh, I don't feel so good.
What is it, computer?
Is it hot in here? It feels hot in here. I feel a little clammy. I should lie down or something.
A computer with a virus? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Those oysters Rockefeller were a mistake.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Baseball season rolls along. Tune in tomorrow as Rise Hoskins and the Phillies host the New York Mets. Presented by Barbasol Razors. Coverage begins at 3:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPNRadio.com, and the ESPN app. That caller that called in on behalf of the Cleveland Browns, ladies and gentlemen, the Cleveland Browns that went winless last year, the Cleveland Browns that are 1-31 over the last 2 seasons. This is the Cleveland Browns schedule for the 2018 season. They open at home against Pittsburgh. Then they're on the road at New Orleans. Then they got a Thursday night game at home against the New York Jets. Then they're at the Oakland Raiders. Then they go up against the Baltimore Ravens. Then they go up against the Los Angeles Chargers. Then they're at Tampa and at Pittsburgh. Then against Kansas City and Atlanta. After 10 games, I expect the Cleveland Browns to be 1-9. 1-9 at best. Good Lord. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Before I get back to the calls, I want to say one other thing, too. This kid, Ronald Acuna Jr., that was hit by a pitch by Urena for the Miami Marlins. Urena got 6 games. X-rays came back negative on Acuna's elbow. I want to reemphasize, as much respect as I have for him as a professional, my comments about what Keith Hernandez said in support of Urena throwing that pitch, I want to be very, very clear. I wish Keith Hernandez nothing but the best. And I'm quite sure he does a great job calling the games. There is no issue with him whatsoever. This is strictly as it pertains to this particular comment that he made, completely supporting Urena, not backing up from the comments that he made. Let me be very, very clear. It's why baseball's struggling. The average viewer, the average age viewing Major League Baseball is 57 years of age, compared to 50 for the NFL, compared to 42 for the NBA. Football and basketball have a younger demographic. Football and basketball doesn't have a challenge in ingratiating itself with the younger populace. Their sport is not going to die off. As long as football takes care of the concussion issue and issues like what's going on right now with the whole Colin Kaepernick protest thing, as long as those things don't get in the way, football's going to be fine. Basketball is on the rise. Baseball, stuff like this is what it makes inexcusable. So let me get this straight. You don't see a problem with throwing a 97.5 mile per hour fastball at somebody's elbow. Not that it was intentionally towards the elbow, could have been the back. But you don't have a problem with a 97.5 mile per hour fastball being thrown at somebody just because they were hitting the ball. They were smacking home runs. 8 straight games, Acuna hit a home run. 3 straight games he had a leadoff shot. And that's the reason. It wasn't arrogance. It wasn't the flipping of a bat. It wasn't where you were being shown up and you had an attitude. No, because this kid, 20 years of age, simply was smacking home runs, instead of striking him out like studs would do, you go up to the plate and you throw at him, and an announcer would condone this? Let baseball keep this up. You'll die in 20 years. You won't have a younger audience. You won't have a younger audience because competition is what they want to see. That's what they want to see. You don't want to see somebody getting plunked with the baseball because they hitting the ball out the park. Strike them out. It ain't complicated. 888 say ESPN. Back to the phones we go. Let's go to Nathan. You're live with Stephen A. What's up?
What's up, Stephen A? How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Go ahead.
Hey, man, I just wanted to say I appreciate you giving me this time to talk to you. I respect you, man. I watch you all the time. I even watch Brick, man.
Thank you, man. Brick's doing his thing, man. Brick's doing his thing. I'm coming back on General Hospital September 6th and September 7th.
Oh, I'll be at work, so I record it, man. I record everything, man. And I watch it all,
September 6th and September 7th. They still haven't let me put a hit out, though. I'm a surveillance expert for the mob on General Hospital. My recurrent role, my character's name is Brick, for those who don't know what you're talking about. But they still haven't let me put a hit out on anybody. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to do, man. But go ahead.
Yeah, man. I just wanted to say about Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield. I feel like, this is how I feel. I feel like Tyrod Taylor, he's better than Baker Mayfield right now. So why wouldn't you start him? And I feel like Teddy Bridgewater, the same boat. But Teddy was hurt, so you got to be skeptical on that. But to me, he looks good. But in Cleveland, I think Tyrod Taylor should start. Baker looked good, but Tyrod Taylor should be the starter.
I don't think either rookie quarterback should start for the first 8 games, but I do think it's dangerous for the Jets to just insert Teddy Bridgewater in there because Josh McCown ain't going nowhere. He's happy to be a backup. He's 38 years old, collect his dollars, don't take hits, get knocked upside his head. He's good. Teddy Bridgewater is 25 years of age trying to resurrect his career. If he balls out, where does that leave Sam Darnold for the next couple of years? That's where it gets dicey. Now, you could say putting him out there will elevate his trade stock, but I still think it's dicey.
Yeah, they could put him out there for trade bait.
I got you. All right, man. I got to run. I appreciate it, bro. Thank you. Carlo, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hey, Stephen A., man. I want to say congratulations on finally getting your show simulcast on TV. I'm a long-time listener, first-time caller. And the ladies of Alpha Kappa Alpha, my mom would like to say hello to you as well.
Well, tell them I said hello and tell them I said I appreciate the love. Go ahead.
Okay, man. I have 3 quick points. I'm going to try and be brief and not take up too much of your time. My first point on the pitcher, Urena, why doesn't baseball just adopt this, man? Just when you intentionally hit a guy, give a guy 25 games. The second time,
how about 50?
The third time, you can suspend them for the year, and then they're gonna be under the eye, of all the other owners that might want to pick them up. That's something to think about.
Well, it's not about hitting him. It's how you hit him. What I'm saying is, what if you threw a softball his way and it just plucked him a little bit? Then it's no big deal. But the fact that it was 97.5 mile per hour fastball is where the problem lied. That's your problem.
Right. There's no need for that. Okay. Secondly,
go ahead.
I'm tired of these people bringing up LeBron versus Jordan. Listen, man, people keep forgetting one thing. Until he gets 5 rings, he's not even in the conversation with Kobe Bryant, who Jordan already said, that's his successor. So I'm tired of hearing that, man. Until he gets 5 rings, don't even bring it up anymore. He's the greatest current player right now. I'll give you that. But until he gets 5 rings, let's just put that to bed. Okay.
What's number 4? What's point number 3?
What you think about that?
What's point
number 3?
Well, listen,
I got a way to wake up America. I got a way to wake up America as far as the protest. Okay. Now, listen, hear me out. We got the Olympics coming up in 2020, right? Now, what if all black athletes, amateur and professional, decided to join forces and say, we do not agree with the views of the president, and we do not like how we have been treated in the black community as far as with the police brutality. We have decided that we will boycott and not participate in the 2020 Olympics and wake up, take us seriously.
Stop. I totally disagree with that point. I can understand that point if it was for professional athletes that are making millions upon millions of dollars. They don't need the Olympics. But a whole bunch of people out there, swimming, volleyball, wrestling, and, everything else, they bust their tail and they work their entire lives. And they had to wait for 4 years at least to get that opportunity. And it's their only chance at the sun. And even though he's the president of the United States, one man's voice, one man's actions, one man's attitude, no matter who they may be or what they're doing, should never derail us as a nation to represent our nation to the best of our ability. I disagree with that, but I appreciate the call and the thought. 888-SAY-ESPN, that's the number to call into the Stephen A. Smith Show. Discover Car believes anniversary should be a time of celebration, not obligation. That's why they think annual fees are ridiculous. And now, just for giving them a try, Discover will give new card members a 1-year anniversary gift they'll never forget. At the end of your first year, they'll match all the cash back you've earned dollar for dollar. No caps and no catches. Try it and believe it at discover.com/match. Only for new card members. Limitations apply. Back with your calls to close out the show in a minute. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it! Surprise a friend or loved one today with a bouquet from 1-800-Flowers.com. When you order a dozen multicolored roses for only $29.99, you'll get another dozen absolutely free. So go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. By the way, tune in this Sunday as Roz Hoskins and the Phillies host the Mets, presented by Indeed. Coverage of Sunday Night Baseball begins at 6 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPNRadio.com, and the ESPN app. Plus, at 7 p.m. on ESPN and a Watch ESPN app as well. Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News, right here with you. Let's get back to the phones. Let's go to Stoney. You're live. What's up?
All right. Hi, Stephen A.
I'm good. Talk to me. You only got a couple of minutes. Go ahead, buddy.
Okay. Real quick. I just wanted to address the Carmelo Anthony issue.
Yep.
I might be a little biased because we were born in the same spot, Red Hook, Brooklyn.
Well, I'm biased too because I'm right here at Syracuse University. I just passed the Carmelo Anthony Center.
Wow,
it's pretty nice.
Great. I didn't know they had a center.
It's pretty. Wow. He did. Listen, Carmelo Anthony donated to this campus big time. He means a lot to this place, and it means a lot to him. I'm on the campus at Syracuse University, getting ready to give a speech. I'm at the Newhouse School of Communications, Dick Clark Studios. Carmelo Anthony contributes a lot to this university. Deserves a lot of credit for it.
That's beautiful. See, that's why I'm so proud of him. And I think he's getting the short end of the stick when they talk about his stats being so low for last year playing with OKC. I thought that was very short-sightedness of these so-called experts because he had to be the third option. He's never been the third option in his whole entire career. If you're the third option, you're not going to get that many shots. Of course your average is going to go down.
Listen, I got to go, Stoney. We can talk about this more next week when I have more time, but I got news for you. He's going to be the third option in Houston, too. He ain't going to be a second option in front of CP3 or James Harden. So if that's your argument about him, it ain't going to get much better for him. Let's go to Michael. You're live with Stephen A. Real quick, Michael, go ahead.
How you doing today, sir? I know how you hate my Cowboys, but that's all right. Friendship is essential to the soul, so we forgive you.
I can't stand Cowboy fans, but go ahead.
10-6, and if they don't make the playoffs, will Garrett keep his job?
Garrett shouldn't keep his job if they do make the playoffs. That's how bad I feel about Jason Garrett. I don't even look at Jason Garrett as a coach. I look at him as a puppet for Jerry and Stephen Jones personally. I don't know anything that Jason Garrett does other than applaud. He claps every time somebody does something good. And when they does something bad, he claps even more and pats them on the back to try and encourage them to keep going. I'm not aware of anything that Jason Garrett really does that warrants him being the coach of the Dallas Cowboys. And I never understood why he was the guy that was the golden child, the heir apparent that was getting just as much money as Wade Phillips, when Wade Phillips was the defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys, who's now in Los Angeles, by the way, and the Los Angeles Rams. I'm here to tell y'all something right now. It's going to be very interesting to see what the Los Angeles Rams do this year. I got to get on out of here. Got to get ready to go give my speech to the kids at Syracuse because Stevie A love the kids. He sure does. But I enjoyed myself today. Looking forward to hollering at